Mistress destroyed, pregnant wife's baby shower, millionaire saw, everything. Silver confetti shimmered beneath the grand chandelier of the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills, reflecting the radiant glow a mother-to-be who believed this day would be filled with love and celebration. Friends and family gathered around, eager to shower her with affection and gifts, completely unaware that a storm of secrets and betrayal was about to erupt. Amid the joyful music and endless chatter, a mysterious stranger slinked along the walls, determined to destroy the very event meant to honor new life. And hidden among the guests was a wealthy onlooker, an unintended witness to a scandal that would shake everyone present. Clarissa Meyer considered herself one of the luckiest women in Los Angeles. She was glowing, almost 8 months pregnant, and deeply in love with her husband, Daniel Meyer, a self-made millionaire who'd risen from a modest background. Tall and polished, Daniel carried an air of confidence that came from hard work rather than entitlement. He owned a thriving chain of upscale restaurants across Southern California and was known in social circles for his business acumen as well as his devotion to Clarissa. He was used to the limelight, but always managed to shine it on his wife and family, rather than revel in it himself. Although Clarissa was initially suspicious of fame and wealth, having come from a family that struggled to pay bills each month, she soon learned that Daniel's heart was as large as his bank account. He made it his mission to prove to her that money didn't have to corrupt one's spirit. In their early days of dating, he brought her to soup kitchens he funded, took her to meet staff at his restaurants, and introduced her to local charities he supported. She saw firsthand that he was not merely throwing money at problems, he was personally invested in making people's lives better. When Clarissa and Daniel decided to start a family, they approached it with both excitement and trepidation. Clarissa had always longed for motherhood, but she was aware that her new life in Daniel's opulent world came with pressures. She now floated through grand galas and exclusive events, learning to navigate conversations with celebrities and politicians. Some of those individuals were genuine, others whispered behind her back, questioning if she was truly worthy of Daniel. Yet for the most part, Clarissa felt accepted. She chose to see the best in people, focusing on Daniel's unwavering support and the promise of the little life growing inside her. By her 8th month of pregnancy, they decided to host a lavish baby shower. Daniel spared no expense. He arranged for the event to be held at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills, a real place that had seen countless movie stars and business moguls gather for high-profile gatherings. Clarissa had initially argued for a simpler location, perhaps one of her favorite local parks or a cozy backyard affair, but Daniel wanted to celebrate her properly. He insisted that Clarissa, who was carrying his future heir, deserved every ounce of lavish love he could provide. After some convincing, Clarissa agreed to the grandeur. She thought, maybe it'll be fun to have a fairy tale moment. The hotel staff, used to hosting VIPs, started planning everything: pastel-colored floral arrangements, an elaborate dessert buffet that stretched along one side of the ballroom, and tables draped in linen so soft it felt like clouds. A custom ice sculpture of a teddy bear was even commissioned. Clarissa's mother, Harriet, cried tears of joy each time a new detail was mentioned. This baby wasn't just a blessing for Clarissa and Daniel. Harriet saw it as the family's symbol of hope. She was bursting with pride to see her daughter so happy and provided for. Yet, beneath the layers of glitz and maternal joy, an undercurrent of tension had begun swirling. Whispers passed through the staff in Daniel's restaurants, little rumors about a striking new hostess who had spent extra time in Daniel's private office. Clarissa's best friend, Melody, confided that she once saw Daniel lunching with this hostess at an upscale bistro, just the two of them, their heads leaning in close. When Clarissa tried to broach the subject with her husband, Daniel brushed it off as a business meeting, claiming he was evaluating certain staff members' potential for promotion. He had always tried to identify hidden talent and mentor promising employees, especially those from humble beginnings. He saw them as reflections of his younger self, hungry for a chance. Because Clarissa had always trusted Daniel, she put her mind at ease, albeit with a small twinge of uncertainty. At nearly 8 months pregnant, she told herself that Daniel's main priority was her and the baby. He was simply being his benevolent self, or so she prayed. She was too busy preparing for motherhood, scheduling hospital tours, and dealing with swollen feet to dwell on half-formed suspicions. She wanted to believe their love was unbreakable. Veronica Cole, a sultry brunette with a magnetic gaze, had recently been hired as a hostess at one of Daniel's upscale restaurants. She was admired for her polished composure, impeccable style, and ability to sweet-talk even the snootiest clientele. However, behind her captivating facade lay an ambition that burned hotter than any typical career goals. Veronica didn't want to just climb the ladder. She wanted to take the entire building for herself. Over the years, she had learned the art of manipulation. She excelled at flirting with powerful men and planting seeds of doubt in the minds of those around them. She had set her sights on Daniel Meyer the moment she'd heard about his background: young, charming, and extremely wealthy. She found subtle excuses to linger by his office, offering him coffee when he was occupied by a meeting, or greeting him after hours, claiming she was staying late to balance spreadsheets the manager had asked her to handle. At first, Daniel paid little attention to her. He might have found her competent, but he was far more interested in returning home to his pregnant wife, who always awaited him with that open, welcoming smile. But Veronica was patient. She'd been spurned before, and it only refined her tactics. She developed a routine, working tireless shifts, acting devoted and polite to everyone. Soon enough, she charmed the entire restaurant staff. People rooted for her, admired her perseverance, and even told Daniel stories of how Veronica stayed late to help with closing duties. Eventually, Daniel took notice. Impressed by her dedication, he asked Veronica to meet him for lunch, purely to discuss how he might support her professional growth. Or so he told himself. She feigned surprise, then gratitude. When he suggested the upscale bistro, she suggested somewhere more discreet, better to keep business matters private, she insisted. Daniel, always looking out for his employees, agreed. Though the lunch was intended to talk about a potential manager-in-training program, Veronica skillfully shifted the subject to Daniel himself, his achievements, his philanthropic work, his personal life. She used every social cue in the book, leaning forward, tilting her head attentively, providing the perfect balance of admiration and curiosity. Daniel, while faithful in his heart, couldn't help but feel flattered by the attention. Clarissa, heavily pregnant, was at home dealing with mood swings and physical discomfort. Veronica offered an escape, a reminder of who he was before the responsibilities of fatherhood consumed him. One lunch became 2, then 3. Daniel found himself comforting Veronica when she cried about her rent being raised, offering solutions, writing reference letters to help her find a more affordable apartment. He told himself he was being kind, but in reality, he was dancing on a dangerous line. Veronica's tears, like her smiles, were weaponized. She measured every tear carefully. She was aware that Clarissa existed, but in her mind, Clarissa was simply an obstacle. With Daniel's baby on the way, it was more urgent than ever for Veronica to stake her claim. She wasn't aiming to be another fling. She wanted to unseat the rightful queen and claim the throne for herself. The day Clarissa's baby shower was announced, news traveled swiftly through Daniel's business empire. Invitations spread to a network of entrepreneurs, celebrities, socialites, and close personal friends. Chefs and servers in his restaurants whispered excitedly about the glamorous event, and managers scrambled to rearrange schedules so key staff could attend. Clarissa was widely admired, and many people genuinely wanted to celebrate her big day. Veronica heard these whispers and pretended to be delighted for Clarissa, even congratulating her in person at one point. But beneath that practiced smile, Veronica felt her heart surge with resentment. She couldn't stand the idea that Clarissa, who had done little other than marry into wealth as she saw it, would bask in all this attention. In Veronica's mind, Clarissa had never worked a day in her life. Veronica had meticulously studied Clarissa's background, her modest upbringing, her college years, her volunteer work. None of it impressed Veronica. All she could see was the pregnant woman with a diamond ring that glowed like a small sun on her finger. The more Veronica raged in private, the more she fixated on a plan. She decided if Clarissa was about to receive her perfect day, Veronica would be there to destroy it. She wanted to not only sabotage the shower, but also publicly claim her place in Daniel's life. The notion of Daniel's child being welcomed into the world overshadowed her own ambitions. She'd heard rumors that Clarissa was carrying a son, an heir to the Maya fortune. Veronica saw that future as rightfully hers. And if Daniel wouldn't break the news to Clarissa that he had grown feelings elsewhere, well, she'd break it for him at the baby shower. Preparations for the baby shower went on for weeks. Clarissa's mother, Harriet, arrived in Los Angeles a month in advance to help finalize details. Harriet and Clarissa spent days sampling cakes, selecting pastel color themes, and mailing out personalized invitations. They giggled at the memory of Clarissa's childhood, how Harriet struggled to afford a decent birthday cake when times were tough, and now they were ordering a multi-tiered confection that looked too beautiful to eat. Daniel, busier than ever, did his best to check in on the plans, but in the background, Veronica tugged at his attention like a magnet pulling metal. She'd show up unannounced, teary-eyed, claiming another crisis. She made certain that Daniel gave her a ride home after late-night meetings, insisting it was unsafe to travel alone at night. Each time, she built a small sense of intimacy, complaining about the heartbreaks she'd suffered. She painted herself as a lonely soul in need of a savior. Daniel tried to keep firm boundaries, but each day his moral lines blurred a little more. Clarissa noticed he seemed more distracted. He came home with a furrowed brow, often checking his phone. When she asked, he brushed it off as business stress, expansions, new restaurant openings, competitor issues. Clarissa, wanting to be supportive, didn't press him further. She knew running a restaurant empire was no small feat. She didn't want to be the nagging wife, especially when she herself was near the final stretch of pregnancy. Even though alarm bells chimed in her mind, she hoped she was merely imagining trouble. The baby shower date finally arrived. The Four Seasons Hotel's grand ballroom was transformed into a wonderland. Tables were draped in pale pink and white linens, vases overflowed with peonies and roses, and the sweet smell of vanilla cupcakes wafted through the air. A lavish gift table groaned under the weight of neatly wrapped presents. The guest list included everyone from Daniel's business associates, Clarissa's longtime friends, neighbors from their gated community, Harriet's circle from her hometown, and even a handful of top staff from Daniel's restaurants. A small jazz ensemble played softly in the corner, setting a mellow, sophisticated tone. Servers in crisp attire glided through the room with trays of sparkling cider and hors d'oeuvre. Clarissa, adorned in a flowing pastel dress that hugged her pregnant belly, glowed with happiness. Harriet, wearing a proud grin, introduced herself to every guest, gushing about her soon-to-arrive grandchild. Daniel hovered near Clarissa, greeting well-wishers and making sure she felt comfortable. Unbeknownst to Clarissa, a storm was brewing in a nearby corridor. Veronica had managed to secure a black cocktail dress that fit her figure like a glove. She was not on the guest list, yet she breezed past the check-in table with the confidence of someone who belonged. Staff members recognized her from Daniel's restaurants, assuming she'd been personally invited by the boss. She floated through the ballroom doors, scanning the crowd like a seasoned hunter looking for prey. The baby shower was in full swing, laughter echoing in every corner as Clarissa and Harriet tried to guess the flavors of baby food in a light-hearted game. Daniel was in the midst of a conversation with a business associate about a potential overseas expansion. Everyone was so immersed in the cheerful ambience that no one paid immediate attention to Veronica. But gradually, heads began to turn. Some recognized her from the restaurants and whispered questions about her presence. Others noticed the way her eyes locked onto Daniel, brimming with confidence. It was Harriet who first sensed the tension. She saw Veronica prowling toward Clarissa, her posture radiating hostility. Harriet quickly stepped forward to intercept her. She had no idea who the woman was, but sensed danger. Veronica flashed a venomous smile and breezed right past Harriet, heading straight for the mother-to-be. Clarissa looked up from unwrapping a tiny pair of baby socks when she felt a pair of cold eyes upon her. Veronica stood there, arms folded, lips curved in a cruel grin. The room went uncomfortably silent, all eyes flicking between Clarissa, Veronica, and Daniel. "Hello, Clarissa," Veronica purred, her voice dripping with faux politeness. "Congratulations on the baby. It must be thrilling to celebrate so publicly. Knowing you have, let's just say, competition." Clarissa blinked in confusion. I'm sorry. Do I know you?" In that moment, Daniel spotted Veronica and turned pale. He excused himself from his colleague and quickly approached, placing himself between Veronica and Clarissa. Harriet, who had inched closer, felt her stomach twist. The hush that descended over the party was nearly suffocating. Veronica seized the opportunity. In a voice loud enough to be heard by the entire gathering, she announced, "Clarissa, I'm Veronica Cole Daniels' employee, friend, and so much more. I'm here because I believe honesty is the best gift to bring to a baby shower." She turned her gaze to Daniel, her brow arched expectantly, as though daring him to contradict her. Clarissa's heart hammered in her chest. She glanced at Daniel, silently pleading for an explanation. Guests awkwardly looked down or exchanged bewildered glances. Harriet found herself stepping closer, her maternal instincts screaming that something was about to go very wrong. "Veronica," Daniel said in a tight voice, "this is neither the time nor the place. Leave now." But Veronica wouldn't be dismissed so easily. "Really, Daniel, have you told Clarissa about those late nights at my apartment? About the times you confessed how suffocated you felt by impending fatherhood?" She raised her voice a notch. "Did you tell your wife how you worried that she wouldn't be as exciting once the baby arrived?" A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Clarissa's eyes widened, tears of disbelief forming. Harriet stepped beside her daughter, one arm protectively around her shoulders, glaring daggers at Veronica. But the mistress wasn't finished. "I believed in you," Veronica went on, her voice trembling with feigned hurt. "I offered you solace when your pregnant wife was too tired and moody to care about your needs." She softened her tone to sound almost pitiful. "Daniel, I thought we had something real. Aren't you going to stand by me now?" Guests started whispering frantically. A few even pulled out their phones, discreetly filming or snapping pictures. This was a scandal that no one in that circle would soon forget. Clarissa felt her world collapsing. She glanced up at Daniel, desperately seeking denial or reassurance, anything to refute this horrible claim. Clarissa's eyes welled with tears. The once vibrant glow on her face turned to ashen shock. Daniel, breathing heavily, tried to grasp Clarissa's hand, but she recoiled. Harriet held her daughter tight, her expression a mix of anger and heartbreak. "It's not true," Daniel managed, voice shaking. He turned to Clarissa. "Clarissa, you know me. I would never Veronica barked a bitter laugh. Never! How dare you lie! She produced her phone and flashed the screen. Texts from you, photos, hotel receipts. Or should I show the charges for dinner reservations where we had our little private rendezvous? Daniel's eyes flitted to the phone in dread. He knew, with a sinking feeling, that there had been lunches and dinners, discrete times he'd stepped over a line he swore he'd never cross. But had it really gone so far as to be considered a full-blown affair? Clarissa's gaze flickered with betrayal as she saw his hesitation. "Tell me this is a misunderstanding," Clarissa pleaded. Her voice quavered, raw with emotion. Daniel attempted to compose himself. Yes, there were meetings, but they were about her role in the company, about her financial struggles. "We never," he cut off, uncertain how to explain the 1,000 half-truths he'd lived in the last few months. Veronica seized the moment. "Never? Then why does my phone have pictures of us kissing in your car last week?" Another deafening hush. All eyes drilled into Daniel, who appeared to deflate under the weight of his shame. Clarissa's lip trembled. The swirl of confusion, anger, and heartbreak threatened to push her over the edge. Harriet's hand tightened around her daughter's shoulder, feeling the deep maternal urge to shield Clarissa from further pain. Suddenly, Harriet exploded with anger, turning on Veronica. "How dare you come here uninvited and spew these lies on my daughter's special day? You have no shame." Veronica's stance turned smug. "Your precious daughter is living in a fantasy. I'm just here to show her the truth." She took a step closer, eyes flicking with triumph. "Daniel has been in my bed, telling me he's unsure about fatherhood, that Clarissa's pregnancy is making him feel trapped. He needed an escape, and I provided it." The harsh words struck Clarissa like a physical blow. She clutched her stomach, feeling an overwhelming surge of pain, not just emotional, but physical. For a terrifying second, she worried about going into early labor. She inhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. One of Daniel's business associates, an older man named Robert Morris, a fellow millionaire who'd partnered with Daniel in a philanthropic project, cleared his throat. He stepped forward, frowning deeply. Robert was a steadfast ally to the Myers and had known them for years. "Veronica, do you have any sense of decency? This is a baby shower, for heaven's sake. If you truly had an issue, you should have addressed it in private." Veronica shot him a poisonous glare. "Stay out of this, old man. Your moral judgments don't apply when it comes to matters of the heart. Or is it the wallet?" Gasps emanated from the crowd. Robert's eyes blazed, but he contained his anger. He looked at Clarissa sympathetically. "We should put an end to this. Clarissa, Daniel, perhaps you should speak privately." Clarissa struggled to find her voice. "No," she said firmly, tears still glistening. "I want to know the truth, all of it. Right here, right now." Daniel sank into a chair, pressing his palms against his forehead as if trying to scrub away the guilt. He had never intended for it to reach this point. To him, it was just a misguided emotional affair, or so he told himself. Physical, yes, there had been a kiss or two, but he swore to himself it went no further. Now, faced with Veronica's dramatic display, it seemed he had lost control entirely. With everyone watching, their eyes drilling holes into him, Daniel began to speak in a broken voice. "Yes, I spent time with Veronica," he confessed. "I was stupid. I was lonely. Clarissa has been so focused on the baby, and I—" He paused, choking on his words. "No, that's not an excuse. I should never have crossed that line, but I swear to you, Clarissa, on our baby's life, that I never slept with her." It was emotionally inappropriate, but it never went beyond a few moments of weakness. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some believed him, understanding that mistakes happen when couples face major life changes. Others saw it as the typical denial of a cheater who'd been caught. Veronica's lip curled in scorn. "How dare you reduce me to a fling?" she hissed. "We had a connection. You told me you were unhappy, that Clarissa wasn't fulfilling your needs. And now you're throwing me to the wolves in front of all these people?" Daniel rose to his feet, trying to maintain composure. "We didn't have a future. I told you that from the start. I love my wife. I love our child." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry for how I led you on, but this is not the way to handle it." Clarissa watched their exchange, her heart in tatters. The man she revered had betrayed her in ways she never imagined possible. Yet the line between a total affair and an emotional entanglement was blurred, especially given Veronica's allegations. Clarissa's mind spun with questions. Who was telling the truth? Was Daniel partially lying to save face? How could she have been so blind? Harriet steadied Clarissa, whispering that they should leave to end this humiliation. But Clarissa, fueled by a mixture of heartbreak and anger, decided to confront Veronica herself. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but resolute. "Veronica, I don't know how far things went. I don't know what you hope to gain by humiliating me at my baby shower. But let me make one thing clear: you have no power over my child's future or my marriage." She cast a furious look at Daniel, who appeared remorseful and conflicted. "Whether he is telling the truth about the extent of your relationship or not, you will not destroy me. I won't give you that satisfaction." Veronica's eyes flashed. "You think you can just close the door on reality because you wear a wedding ring. I'm not finished." She took a step closer and announced, "Daniel, the first pregnant too." A stunned hush fell again, even heavier than before. Clarissa's trembling hand flew to her mouth. Harriet's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Robert Morris looked ready to call security, and Daniel's face went bone white. The entire atmosphere, once filled with pastel decorations and the promise of new life, had been seized by an almost suffocating gloom. Clarissa felt her knees buckle. She's pregnant too? The betrayal cut even deeper than any heartbreak she had ever imagined. Harriet had to steady Clarissa again, worried she might collapse. Guests stood frozen, torn between disbelief and morbid curiosity. Daniel swallowed hard, glancing at Veronica in horror. "What are you talking about?" Veronica folded her arms, her gaze smug. "I found out a few weeks ago. I thought you'd be happy. After all, you told me privately that you weren't sure if Clarissa's baby was truly what you wanted. You said you might want a child with someone else someday." She shot Clarissa a twisted look. "I guess that day is now." "You're lying," Daniel shouted. "I never said that. You're just—" "Oh, I'm lying." Veronica took out a folded piece of paper from her clutch. "Doctor's note confirming my pregnancy. Should I show everyone?" She looked around the crowd, whose collective shock had turned into a silent horror show. "Perhaps you'd like me to describe the night of conception. The hotel you booked for us, remember? The one near the beach in Santa Monica?" Clarissa, her face hot with tears, tried to hold on to a shred of composure. Daniel was gasping for breath, struggling to piece together Veronica's claims. The child could easily be someone else's. He and Veronica had only kissed unless, in a moment of drunken weakness, he had blacked out. The confusion ate at him. In an attempt to reason, he shook his head vigorously. "This is madness," he muttered. "Clarissa, the first never, maybe for a fleeting second I was drawn to her, but I did not sleep with her. She's lying to tear us apart." Veronica raised an eyebrow. "So I'm lying about the baby now? Care to do a paternity test?" "I'd be happy to oblige." Clarissa couldn't stand it anymore. Panic surged within her. She cradled her belly, terrified that the stress might harm her unborn child. The feeling of betrayal was crushing. Her husband might have fathered another woman's child. Her entire relationship felt like a house of cards toppling in an earthquake. Harriet sensed the imminent danger of Clarissa's stress levels and guided her to a nearby chair. Robert Morris signaled to some of the hotel staff, requesting water, a cold towel, anything to help Clarissa calm down. In the background, the hum of whispered gossip escalated. Photos and videos were surely being posted online. Then, in the midst of the chaos, an unexpected voice spoke up. One of the servers from Daniel's restaurant, a young woman named Lily, stepped forward nervously. She recognized Veronica well and had overheard staff gossip about her. "I'm sorry," Lily began, voice trembling, "but I have something to say." All eyes pivoted to Lily, who seemed to gather her courage. "I overheard Veronica on her phone a few weeks ago. She was bragging that she'd found the perfect man to pin a pregnancy on. Her words, not mine. She said he was rich, successful, and that once she claimed he was the father, she'd be set for life." A ripple of shock swept through the crowd. Veronica shot Lily a look of pure venom. "Shut your mouth. You don't know anything," but Lily persisted. She specifically mentioned forging a document if necessary. "I was so disturbed, but I didn't think it was my place to say anything. Now I see that I should have spoken up sooner." She turned to Clarissa with a remorseful expression. "I'm so sorry. I should have warned you or Daniel." A glimmer of hope stirred in Clarissa's chest. Could this entire fiasco be part of Veronica's twisted game? Daniel, although furious at Lily for not coming forward earlier, felt an immense wave of relief. "She's lying about the baby," he repeated firmly, stepping toward Clarissa. "The first, swear, Clarissa, the first did not do this." Veronica, cornered by Lily's accusation, found her confidence faltering, but she put on one last show of defiance. "You pitiful little waitress, trying to tear me down. Everyone here knows you're just a petty employee who wants to get in the boss's good graces. I have a doctor's note and I will prove it's real." Daniel seized the moment. "Fine. Let's do a test. Right now, the best fertility clinic in Beverly Hills is less than 15 minutes away. We can settle this once and for all." Veronica blanched. She hadn't anticipated being backed into a corner so quickly. She stammered, "Fine, let's go. Right now, let's go." But instead of heading for the door, Veronica whipped around to face Clarissa. Her eyes glimmered with twisted glee. "Even if the baby is not Daniel's, think about what you've witnessed. He cheated, emotionally at least. He lied. He betrayed you. You'll never trust him again. Isn't that enough for you to leave him?" Clarissa stared at Veronica, raw heartbreak in her eyes. Indeed, trust was shattered, and no matter the paternity test result, Daniel's betrayal was undeniable. Still, Clarissa felt a flicker of strength inside her. She held herself upright, mustering a resolve she didn't know she had. "You've done enough damage," she told Veronica, her voice trembling but firm. "Now get out of my baby shower. If you have proof of your claims, take them to a lawyer. Otherwise, leave me my child and my family in peace." Veronica realized her plan to publicly humiliate Clarissa had spectacularly backfired. While she had certainly caused a huge rift, the presence of Lily and the immediate call for a paternity test threatened to expose her for the manipulative opportunist she was. Without further theatrics, she dashed toward the exit, pushing past stunned guests. Yet before she could vanish, Daniel's security team, who, upon noticing the escalating drama, had stationed themselves at the ballroom doors, approached her. "Excuse me, ma'am," one security guard said, stepping into her path. "We have been asked to ensure that you do not cause further disturbance. Would you please come with us?" Sensing that a physical confrontation wouldn't benefit her, Veronica plastered on a final sneer and held her head high. "Don't worry, I'm leaving, but this isn't over." With that, she stormed out, letting the heavy doors bang shut behind her. Inside, the crowd exhaled collectively, as if they'd been holding their breath for an eternity. Clarissa, still in shock, sank deeper into her chair. Harriet kneeled beside her, holding her hand. Daniel looked lost, torn between relief and despair. The entire ambience, once bright and joyful, had been poisoned by betrayal and lies. Robert Morris, trying to take charge of the situation, clapped his hands. Everyone, perhaps we should give the family some privacy. The shower is concluded for now. Please respect. Clarissa's need for rest. Guests, nodding solemnly, began to disperse, some whispering consolation and others casting suspicious glances at Daniel. A few staff members from the hotel helped pack up the gifts, while Harriet guided Clarissa toward a private room to calm down. Daniel lingered behind, speaking quietly to Robert. "I need to fix this," he said, voice hushed. "I made a huge mistake. I don't know how to make it right." Robert's expression was grave. "First, go to Clarissa, apologize, assure her you'll do the paternity test to clear your name on that front. The rest, well, you'll need to earn her trust again, if that's even possible." Daniel nodded, feeling like the loneliest man in the world. He might have been a millionaire, but in that moment, he felt emotionally bankrupt. Clarissa's entire body trembled with the aftershocks of what had just transpired. She sat in the hotel's private suite, Harriet holding her hand while a concerned nurse summoned by the hotel staff checked her blood pressure. Once it was clear Clarissa was physically stable, Harriet thanked the nurse and insisted that the best medicine for her daughter right now was peace and quiet. "Mom," Clarissa finally said in a hushed tone, "I can't believe all of this. I'm so humiliated." Harriet squeezed her daughter's hand. "You have nothing to be ashamed of, sweetheart. That woman was vile. Daniel, he's going to have to answer to you, and he'll need to do everything in his power to repair this." Clarissa's eyes brimmed with tears again. "I thought we had the perfect marriage. I never imagined something like this could happen." Harriet stroked her hair gently. "Marriage is complicated. People make mistakes, but only you can decide if this mistake is forgivable. Right now, you need to focus on your health and the baby." A soft knock on the door drew their attention. Daniel stood there, looking like a man on the edge of collapse. His once confident posture was slumped in remorse. Harriet gave Clarissa's shoulder a reassuring squeeze before stepping out of the room, granting them privacy. Clarissa eyed him warily, her heart torn between love and betrayal. He began to speak, voice thick with emotion. "Clarissa, the first am so sorry. I never wanted you to be hurt like this. I was weak, I was foolish, but I swear on everything I hold dear, I never slept with her." Clarissa took a shaky breath. "Daniel, you still kissed her. You confessed personal feelings to her that you should have been sharing with me. You said you felt trapped by the pregnancy." He flinched, as though struck. "That was never how I truly felt. I was overwhelmed. Yes, but I love you. I love our child. Veronica manipulated me." Clarissa laughed bitterly. "Of course she did, but you let her. That doesn't absolve you of blame. How can I trust you now?" Daniel lowered his head. "I don't expect you to trust me right away, but give me a chance to prove myself. I'll do the paternity test immediately. I'll handle Veronica legally if needed. I'll go to counseling. Anything to show you that you and our baby come first." The sincerity in his voice tugged at Clarissa's heart. She wanted to believe him, but the wound was fresh, the pain still excruciating. With tears spilling down her cheeks, she shook her head slowly. "I just need time. This entire day, what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, has been ruined. I need space, Daniel." He nodded, eyes shimmering with tears. "I understand." With that, he slowly turned and walked out, leaving Clarissa to her grief. Harriet slipped back in, wrapping her daughter in a comforting embrace. The mother-to-be's tears stained her once lovely dress, and the shadow of betrayal cloaked what should have been a radiant celebration. Veronica was furious. She had fled the baby shower in a storm of embarrassment, but she wasn't ready to concede defeat. For days after the event, rumors spread across social media. Short videos of her confrontation at the shower popped up on gossip blogs. People speculated whether Daniel was indeed the father of her alleged baby, or if she was a cunning gold digger. The majority seemed to side with Clarissa, condemning Veronica's brazen attempt to overshadow the baby shower. In the court of public opinion, Veronica was a pariah, but still, she believed she had a trump card. She knew that whether or not the child was Daniel's, the spectre of paternity could rattle him. If he wanted to ensure she remained silent about their dalliance, whatever shape it took, he might be inclined to settle financially. She dreamt of a lavish lifestyle, and she wasn't about to let that dream slip away. Veronica scheduled an appointment at a reputable OB-GYN in Beverly Hills, forging Daniel's name on forms as the potential father. She planned to use the records as leverage, confident she could claim Daniel was refusing to accept responsibility. She also booked a consultation with a high-powered lawyer known for winning massive paternity suits. Even if DNA tests disproved Daniel's fatherhood, she hoped to drag out the process long enough to gain a sizable settlement. She reveled in the idea of Clarissa losing faith in Daniel, fueling a fire that might burn the marriage to ash. Yet there was one factor Veronica hadn't anticipated: the tight-knit nature of Daniel's business empire. Many employees saw Clarissa as the beloved wife of their boss, a kind soul who often donated to their family causes. Lily's confession at the shower had earned her scorn from Veronica, but Lily was quietly praised by co-workers for doing the right thing. Word spread, and soon the entire staff was banding together, refusing to cooperate with Veronica. In fact, some employees had evidence of Veronica's manipulative tactics: texts, overheard conversations, times she tried to seduce or blackmail other managers. The tide was turning, and it wasn't in Veronica's favor. As promised, Daniel wasted no time setting up a DNA paternity test. Though typically performed after the baby's birth, there were prenatal tests that could determine paternity with a blood sample from the mother. Veronica, savoring the drama, agreed to a non-invasive prenatal paternity NIPP test. So long as Daniel footed the bill, she feigned reluctance, acting as though she were being pressured by a powerful man. In reality, she hoped the test results could be delayed, giving her more time to extort hush money. But Daniel was done being a victim of Veronica's schemes. He requested a top-notch lab used by many Hollywood celebrities who needed privacy and speed. The lab staff had zero tolerance for tampering or bribes. Veronica submitted her sample, confident she could coax or blackmail a technician. She quickly learned that the lab's security measures were too strict. By the time she realized how tightly monitored the facility was, she was in too deep. Clarissa, meanwhile, wrestled with heartbreak and anxiety. Despite her anger, she felt a twinge of dread at the thought that the test could confirm Veronica's pregnancy with Daniel. What if he really fathered her child? The betrayal would be insurmountable. She might walk away for good, filing for divorce and raising her baby on her own. On the other hand, if the test cleared Daniel, how would she reconcile the emotional affair? Would she try to forgive him? Could she even salvage the shards of trust left between them? Days passed, filled with tension. Harriet insisted Clarissa stay at her house, away from the marital home she shared with Daniel. Clarissa agreed, but she allowed Daniel to visit each evening to check on her health. Their interactions were polite but strained. Sometimes Clarissa would break down in tears, lamenting that she didn't know if she could ever forgive him. Daniel would patiently listen, offering gentle reassurances that his love was real. Finally, the test results arrived. Daniel opened the envelope in the presence of his lawyer, Robert Morris, and Clarissa. Hands trembling, Clarissa read over his shoulder. The result: 0% chance that Daniel was the father. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. Daniel hugged Clarissa, tears of gratitude in his eyes. Clarissa cried too, though not solely from relief. She cried for the betrayal she had endured, for the baby shower fiasco, for the heartbreak that might have been avoided if Daniel had been stronger or more transparent. Robert Morris wasted no time. He reached out to a trusted contact in the district attorney's office, explaining how Veronica had forged documents, blackmailed Daniel, and defamed him. The wheels of justice began to turn, albeit slowly. Soon, Veronica would realize that not only had she failed to break Daniel and Clarissa's marriage, but she might face legal consequences for her deceit. When Veronica received the official paternity test results, her fury knew no bounds. Yet she quickly pivoted to her next strategy. She filed a lawsuit against Daniel for intentional infliction of emotional distress, claiming he had strung her along, causing her mental anguish. She demanded a settlement, hoping Daniel would pay to keep the scandal from further tarnishing his reputation. Daniel's legal team responded with chilling efficiency. They countersued for defamation, blackmail, and fraud. They possessed a trove of evidence collected from staff members' texts, audio recordings, and other documentation. Veronica found herself cornered. No powerful lawyer would take her case without a massive retainer, something she couldn't afford. She was forced to rely on a small-time attorney who took half-hearted interest in her plight. Word spread among other wealthy entrepreneurs in Los Angeles, particularly those who used to see Veronica as a charming, if ambitious, hostess. She was effectively blacklisted from high-end establishments, her manipulations too notorious. She tried applying for hostess jobs elsewhere, but her name raised red flags. A few tabloids wrote scathing exposes on her infiltration attempts into the Maya Empire. She even contemplated leaving Los Angeles altogether. But before she could finalize an escape plan, Veronica received another blow, a subpoena. Daniel's legal team was pushing for a thorough investigation into her alleged forgeries. If proven, Veronica could face criminal charges. The baby shower fiasco, which she had planned as her triumphant reveal, had snowballed into her downfall. Her illusions of grandeur evaporated, leaving her with the stark reality that she had become a social outcast, financially desperate, and possibly on the brink of facing jail time. Clarissa watched from the sidelines as Veronica's life crumbled, yet she took little joy in it. She was too focused on managing her own stress levels and preparing for the arrival of her baby. The memory of her baby shower, once envisioned as a magical day, still loomed over her like a dark cloud. Daniel, for his part, devoted himself to repairing the marriage. He began therapy to address the emotional barriers that led him to confide in Veronica. He also insisted Clarissa join him for couples counseling once a week. Initially, Clarissa resisted. She was angry and felt betrayed, questioning whether therapy could mend something so profoundly damaged. But Harriet gently encouraged her, reminding Clarissa that her child deserved two parents who at least attempted reconciliation. Counseling sessions were raw and painful. Clarissa vented her anger, crying over how Daniel's half-truths had shattered her self-esteem. She admitted feeling insecure about her body during pregnancy, about Daniel possibly losing interest in her. Daniel confessed the fears he had about being a father, worries about not living up to the role, about losing his identity in the process. He admitted that he found Veronica's attention flattering, a reminder of his pre-marriage freedom. But as the weeks passed, the therapy sessions fostered open conversations they had never had before. Slowly, Clarissa saw that Daniel wasn't some cold-hearted monster, but rather a flawed man who made terrible choices. The bond they shared, once so strong, might be rebuilt if they worked hard enough. During this time, Harriet remained a pillar of support. She helped Clarissa with everyday tasks, soothed her daughter's grief, and quietly reminded Daniel that if he ever pulled such a stunt again, she would personally ensure Clarissa never suffered. Despite the tension, Harriet understood the complexities of love and betrayal. Her presence anchored Clarissa in hope. Just as it seemed everything was settling into a pattern of slow healing, a twist emerged from an unexpected source: Veronica's own mother. A frail, older woman arrived at Daniel's office one afternoon, politely asking to speak with him. Concerned, Daniel invited her in, uncertain of her motives. She introduced herself as Marjorie Cole. Her grey, streaked hair and weary eyes spoke of a hard life. She confessed that she hadn't spoken to her daughter, Veronica, in years. But she'd seen the scandal unfold on local news stations and read about it in tabloids. She was horrified to learn her daughter had become so consumed by greed and hatred. Veronica was always troubled, Marjorie whispered. She wanted to escape poverty at all costs. I tried to raise her right, but I failed. I'm sorry for the pain she's caused you and your family. Daniel, still reeling from all the damage Veronica had inflicted, wasn't sure how to respond. I appreciate your apology, Miss S. Cole, but your daughter nearly destroyed my marriage. She humiliated my wife in front of our entire social circle. Tears slipped from Marjorie's eyes. I know. I can't excuse her actions, but I want to help you. I have information that might persuade her to drop all legal claims and vanish from your life forever. My daughter has a history of forging documents and blackmailing men. She was involved in a similar scandal back in Florida, though it never got this big. I have proof that can ensure you win your countersuit. She handed over a worn-out folder containing letters, testimonies, and dated photos. Daniel thumbed through them, astonished. If the evidence was authentic, it would be the final nail in Veronica's coffin. She wouldn't be able to manipulate the legal system anymore. Marjorie sighed, her shoulders sagging. I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing this for the innocent lives she's trying to trample. No one deserves what my daughter has done. Daniel thanked her, promising to handle the matter discreetly. He walked her to the door, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. Veronica's mother had essentially delivered the means to end this battle. The entire situation felt surreal, one mother stepping in to help protect another mother from her own daughter's cruelty. Armed with Marjorie's documents, Daniel's lawyers swiftly dismantled Veronica's final legal claims. Faced with irrefutable evidence of her history of fraud, Veronica's attorney advised her to drop the suit. She had no choice but to comply. The countersuit for defamation and fraud loomed large, and she knew she was on the brink of criminal charges if she continued to fight. Desperate, Veronica reached out to Daniel, leaving tearful voicemails. She begged him to meet her privately, to show mercy. Daniel refused. He saw no point in hearing more of her manipulations. He wanted her out of his life, out of Clarissa's life, and never again to torment them. The last message Veronica left was a bitter diatribe, cursing Daniel and promising that he'd regret discarding her. But her words carried no weight. She had lost all leverage. Daniel's lawyers arranged for Veronica to sign a cease and desist agreement, preventing her from making further public statements about the Myers. In return, Daniel's side agreed to drop certain financial damages. Veronica was left jobless, socially ostracized, and saddled with legal fees that would haunt her for years. She disappeared from the Los Angeles social scene, rumored to have moved to a cheaper state. There, she might find a fresh start, or she might simply repeat her cycle of deception. It no longer mattered to Clarissa or Daniel. They were free of her. With Veronica gone, Clarissa and Daniel's focus turned toward their baby's impending arrival. The stress of the ordeal had taken a toll on Clarissa's final weeks of pregnancy. However, through counseling, she learned strategies to cope with anxiety, reminding herself that her baby needed serenity and positive energy. Daniel worked hard to reassure her, taking over more responsibilities, surprising her with daily acts of kindness, reading parenting books, and practicing baby swaddling techniques to prepare. Harriet remained at their side, providing home-cooked meals and moral support. She watched as Daniel humbly tried to rebuild the trust he had broken. Over time, Harriet's hostility toward him softened, but she maintained a protective stance. She reminded him daily, either through a pointed look or a cautionary word, that Clarissa's well-being was paramount. At last, on a clear, sunny morning, Clarissa went into labor. Daniel rushed her to Cedars Sinai Medical Center. The labor was long and exhausting, but Clarissa endured with Daniel by her side. He held her hand through every painful contraction, whispering words of encouragement and love. Though a piece of Clarissa's heart still ached from the betrayal, she found solace in seeing Daniel's earnest devotion in that crucial moment. Their son, named Nathaniel James Meyer, entered the world with a sharp, healthy cry. Clarissa wept with relief and joy. Daniel cradled the tiny infant, tears streaming down his cheeks. Harriet, who had been pacing in the waiting room, rushed in to behold her grandson. She, too, was overwhelmed by emotion. For a moment, the bitterness of the past months slipped away, replaced by the miracle of new life. In the days following Nathaniel's birth, Clarissa and Daniel navigated the intense learning curve of new parenthood. Late-night feedings, diaper changes, and the simultaneous exhaustion and wonder that came with caring for an infant. The specter of Veronica's betrayal still lingered, but it felt more distant with each day spent bonding as a family. Daniel continued therapy individually, determined not to repeat the emotional missteps of the past. Couples counseling also resumed, with the added dynamic of parenthood shaping their discussions. Clarissa took comfort in small gestures, the way Daniel volunteered for 3 a.m. feedings, how he gazed at Nathaniel with pure adoration, how he insisted Clarissa sleep while he handled chores. These tangible displays of love helped mend the wounds of betrayal. Still, it wasn't a fairy tale ending. Scars remained. Clarissa had triggered certain songs or places that reminded her of the baby shower fiasco. She had nightmares of Veronica barging in with new accusations. Sometimes, in moments of doubt, she questioned whether Daniel truly wanted this life. But then she'd see him carefully rocking Nathaniel to sleep or catch him reading a fatherhood article. She realized that, step by step, he was proving himself. Harriet, too, noticed the changes. She watched Daniel transform from a confident businessman into a gentle, nurturing father. She quietly confided to Clarissa, "He's growing up. Sometimes men take longer than we'd like, but if he's genuinely working to be better, that's worth considering." The final note of karma came months later when Veronica, unable to pay her mounting legal bills, was forced to file for bankruptcy. Word reached Los Angeles through a mutual acquaintance. Clarissa, holding Nathaniel, read the news on her phone. She experienced a strange mix of emotions. She had never wished utter ruination on anyone, but part of her felt a quiet sense of justice. Veronica had inflicted incredible harm, and now she was paying the price. Daniel, reading over Clarissa's shoulder, gently kissed her temple. "I hope she finds peace someday," he said, surprising Clarissa. She expected rage or bitterness, but perhaps therapy had changed him. He knew better than anyone the destructive power of resentment. Letting go was, in its own way, more liberating. Clarissa nodded, tears welling in her eyes. She thought back to her ruined baby shower, to the humiliating scene that had shattered her world. Yet here she was, cradling a healthy baby boy, next to a husband who was fighting to atone for his mistakes. Life had a strange way of weaving tragedy and joy together. While the memory still stung, Clarissa felt stronger than before. She had survived betrayal, heartbreak, and a public scandal. She had found resilience in herself she never knew existed. Harriet, standing at the doorway, smiled as she saw the little family. She stepped forward, pressing a gentle hand on Clarissa's shoulder. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, "of both of you. In that moment, Clarissa realized that though her baby shower was destroyed, a different kind of celebration was blossoming, a celebration of second chances, personal growth, and the kind of love that endures storms. It wasn't a neat, tidy ending. Healing would be ongoing work. But as Nathaniel gurgled happily in her arms, Clarissa felt hope eclipse the darkness. This was her real life, a fragile, beautiful tapestry of mistakes, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Every fall from grace can offer a chance for redemption if people are willing to learn from their mistakes. Clarissa and Daniel's marriage, once shaken to its core, found fresh footing through honest conversations, therapy, and the tender embrace of new parenthood. The mistress, who orchestrated chaos and nearly succeeded in tearing them apart, ultimately met the consequences of her deeds. She faded from high society and faced the heavy toll of her schemes. While no relationship emerges unscathed from betrayal, Clarissa and Daniel discovered that broken trust can sometimes be rebuilt if two people commit to healing and growth together. If you enjoyed this dramatic tale of deceit, redemption, and hard-earned forgiveness, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who love a good twist, and subscribe to the channel for more riveting stories. Your support keeps these narratives alive and inspires us to keep creating.